Well, this is a perfect pairing of two scriptures in that they both deal specifically with a woman and with sexuality and lust. And so in the first one, we hear of a woman who is a beautiful woman who was lusted after by two old men who were ready to have her put to death if they couldn't get their way. Well, they not only didn't get their way, they were the ones that ended up being put to death. And it probably satisfies in us a sense of justice, although anyone being put to death, I suppose, should be an ugly thing for all of us as Christian people. But in any case, this woman had great faith in God. And it's beautiful how she cries out to God, even as she's being marched on her way to be put to death. It's beautiful how the Spirit of God comes upon a mere youth, and so impressive is it that all these people say, you know, basically out of the mouth of babes comes this wisdom. Where did you get this? And hardly understanding how God had acted upon him. It's also interesting to me, there's no indication that the Spirit of God continued to hover over this boy or fill him all the way to the point where in the court scene he is asking probing questions that reveal the truth. But apparently he is indeed the wise man he is becoming, as the scriptures foretell. Now in the second story, the gospel, it's another woman. And it's another question of lust and sin, but this time she is guilty. She has been prostituting herself, and she's caught in the act of adultery, and they're going to kill her. They're going to stone her to death. But what's different about this story is this incredible presence of mercy and forgiveness in the person of Jesus. And you all know the story, we just heard it, but twice Jesus bends down and writes on the ground. Nobody knows what he wrote. Bartlett, a famous commentator from the past, claims that maybe, probably even, he was writing down the sins of people, because it's interesting how they walk away from the oldest to the youngest. So the older we get, the more potential we have for sin, right? Every year add a few more of our sins. And so perhaps that's true. Jesus was writing down sins, and as they recognized them, and maybe they were very public sins or suspicious sins that got revealed. But at any rate, every single person who was there to condemn is touched by God's mercy through Jesus. But in this case, they walk away because they realize their own sinfulness, or at least it's publicly proclaimed in some way by Jesus. It's an incredible scene. But then the magical moment happens. After every single one of these people who had stones in their hands, I suspect, ready to throw them, ready to kill this woman, and so justified, self-justified. We caught her in the very act. And where's the man, by the way? How come the man gets away scot-free? Leave it to the scriptures and leave it to the histories. But in any case, this woman is the only one on trial. Every single man who was there to condemn her and was ready to kill her walks away, convicted of their own sinfulness. And in that context, Jesus forgives. Jesus touches her with mercy. And it happens in such a simple way. Woman, where are they? Is there no one here left to condemn you? No one, sir. And then he frees her to leave in peace. Now I propose to you, that's exactly what Jesus is doing for us. That's exactly why we go to confession. Not to harbor over every one of our sins and proclaim our guilt and cry and weep about it, but to just allow Jesus to speak words of mercy. It's incredible. And what a testimony, for whatever reason in our church, for whatever reason this got crystallized into sacramental form. And lucky for me, I was just ordained the priest the year that the church came out and renewed this sacrament and changed some details about it, and some very big details. A very big detail to come into a lighted room, to have the option to go face to face or not, so that we are respected for whether we need to be more private and hidden or come out and reveal ourselves completely. And what a beautiful difference to professional except any light, but when you kneel down, the light goes out. And then when the light comes on, when the priest opens the box, the sinner starts. Bless me, Father, for I have sinned. It has been so long since my last confession. Every word that comes out of our mouth is condemning us more. These are my sins. I've done my penance. And then we begin to count our sins and give the number. I lied 24 times, I think. And my goodness, kind and number was the creed. Kind and number. But instead it's different. I get the chance in that box or over here when I'm hearing them to say, good evening, welcome. Let me begin with some prayer. What a different way to celebrate. In the one case, before, we highlighted the guilt, the sin, the need for forgiveness. In the second, we highlighted the welcoming power of God's presence and love in the sacrament. So here we are. We hear two women's stories. We hear incredible mercy and love and forgiveness and God supporting and carrying us through the valley of darkness. And we're asked to face this just a week before Holy Week so that we come into the holiest week of the year ready to be confronted by God's mercy, by God's love, by God's forgiveness. Please stand.